Ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing today? I am your Planetary Defense Commander, Star-Lord Nuthor 7, the T, and this is my 16th video on this storm. I've been covering it pretty much non-stop since I noticed the irregularities and potential dangers in it, starting exactly a week ago on July 3rd. And so I have been watching this thing, and I have been watching how other people are covering it. And so if you want a more logical breakdown, watch the video before this, or the video before that, or the video before that. Because the majority of people are still saying they doubt it will be a hurricane. Or, at best, it might be a Category 1 hurricane at landfall. And so, best estimate, this thing sits over really hot waters. For 3 more days, 72 more hours. Wait, that's worst case. Best case is it only sits over for 2 more days. So, though they've been keeping me in a media box pretty much since I started my channel, because A, I tell you not to believe in politicians because politics is a distraction. And B, I tell you that the sun is driving the weather, and that the placement of the gas giants in our solar system, when they're all on the same side, especially Jupiter and Saturn, North America gets earthquakes, volcanoes, and really wild weather. And so that's why I've been telling people we got to come together for 6.5 years to deal with this. And now we're here. It's not too late, but we're running out of time. So I have to, by 10 p.m. tonight, 9, I have to make a call. I've been doing a stellar job at hurricanes since Hurricane Matthew. Much to my own chagrin, women stop wanting to kiss you. This is not about me. Note to self. Okay. And so, every time that I personally felt like something was going to become a major disaster, I tell people on the coast to evacuate. And I'm still seeing pro meteorologists downplaying the storm. Even a person I super trust, and the guy says the king of weather Twitter, he doesn't think it's going to be much. So I feel like one of the only few out there who's saying this thing could be a Category 3 monster, if not worse. A, I have Harvey PTSD because I live in Houston. And B, I'm one of the only people on the planet who believes in the planetary alignment theory, even though I keep hitting marks again and 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 again. Jupiter's massive. You could fit 1,000 Earths in Jupiter. Saturn is massive. You could fit 777 Earths in Saturn. Uranus is pretty big too. I don't know why you'd want to put any Earths in it though. And so, it makes sense even to a kindergartner, anyone who knows, even if these are giant balls, it's called planetary orbital angular momentum, and that when Jupiter and Saturn, which take up the majority of the mass outside of the sun in our whole solar system, are on the same side, it's tilting the whole solar system. It's tilting axes. It's putting a lot of strain on the sun. And so we just had Jupiter opposition where they were totally lined up. So it's no surprise. This hurricane may actually be a pressure / magnetic imprint of Saturn itself. Granted, science has spent last decade or two telling you A, God doesn't exist, and B, the only thing that ever affects the weather or the climate is human caused carbon. Like, granted, they're like, yeah, you can remove 1 trillion square feet of petroleum between the core and the surface, and that's not going to affect anything. But you driving your cars, that made everything as wacky as it is now. So yeah, the public's not always been sold the truth. And so now that we're in a zone where it's like that times 100, you know, if you are in Louisiana, I'm definitely leaning towards making an evacuate video. I'm scared that this thing will go Murphy's Law, where if it does rapidly intensify, it would happen while everybody's sleeping, either tonight or tomorrow night. Because remember, we got 2 or 3 more days of this thing just sitting in the ocean. Sitting and spinning, just like Hurricane Harvey. I'm pretty sure it's going to hit right in the inland into Emma, Louisiana, by my 210 mile per hour theory that I've drawn off the planets. Granted, just because I've been hitting bullseye since Matthew doesn't mean I might not wildly get one wrong. And so the last thing I want to happen is miss this mark and have it head into Texas. So everybody on the coast needs to be prepared. I mean, this thing could be a major monster and we don't necessarily know where it's going to go. Like I said, I think it's going right here into Emma, Louisiana by my calculations. But everybody over here needs to totally be prepared, and this thing's going to be a monster even when it gets on land. But we got 2 or 3 days of heavy, heavy rain bands coming in. And even though my mom hasn't talked to me much since the funeral of my stepfather, large part of that being she's one of the new breed of MAGA Republicans where if you don't think Trump is totally perfect, you're less than human. And so she's over here in Destin, right? Nobody in my family listens to me, really. Except for my awesome aunt, Joanne, and Bruce. Scotty. And so I had to put on my Facebook to my mama that, like, Mama, if you can afford it, and she can, that I would get the fuck out of there. Because this is, if you watched me for a long time, I was joking about the pink being the wettest of the wet. And that is bad when it comes to storms. And so we're already seeing it start a circulation. This storm extends all the way to Europe. It's a Quetzalcoatl storm unlike we've ever seen before in this atmospheric river I've been tracking for 3 years. And so seeing this purple on the pulse up, knowing we have 3 more days, and we get maybe 3 or 4 pulses a day in the storm grows and then the storm dies. And so we're going to see anywhere from 10 to 12 more of these cycles. And so this has maximum potential to just put more rain than the coasts have ever seen at one time. Not only for Louisiana, but for Destin. Wherever that pink is going, that area is going to see heavy flooding. And so anyone along the coast, every model has said, hey, it's only going to Cat 1. Well, if it does go to Cat 3, based off the super hot ocean, based off of in the Gulf of Mexico, based off of, if my planetary pressure theory is correct, based off of little wind shear, Cranky says there's a high pressure zone, so it has to slip behind that and south before it could develop. But I want to remind everybody, we had a 968 millibar storm that devastated Nebraska in the Midwest in March. And so I had already predicted a hurricane from a year ago in the middle of October, but I made the connection between the 2 low pressure systems that continually hit us like in an orbital rotation. And so if we can have a 968 low over land, then I don't know why, and that was only a few months ago, I don't know why anyone would think that getting a 950 low here, or even a 920 low, I dare say 9, 10 is possible. And to just sit and spin for a day or two. This is Asteroid Fight Club episode. If you want, I warned you, if you want to listen to another episode, go to the other ones, man. I tried to bubblegum them up as much as I could. Sometimes I like to talk without putting any sugar in the spoon. Especially on a day where, I don't know, I've gotten like 20,000 views in 48 hours. And today I've asked for a $6 donation for pizza, and I ain't got nothing. I got $2.50. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. I've been working nonstop. But I like I said, I think they don't want the information out, so none of that money, people are probably donating, and none of it's going to me. They're trying to take me out for a while. What was it talking about? Oh yeah, so this has potential to be a really, 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 really major disaster. If we see stuff like this for 2 or 3 days. And I gotta say, for Hurricane Harvey, the Cajun Navy stepped up big time. I was in North Texas. I evacuated. I was in North Texas with my whole family. My buddy Fitzroy's mom, who I consider Mama too, one of my favorite people on the planet, she passed away last November for my stepdad. I had to beg a ton of people to get a boat on standby and go down to Houston if I had to drag a Mama 2 off a roof to save her. And honestly, everybody I asked in North Texas was a fucking pussy. They're like, no, I gotta go to work. And I was like, well, if you call your job and say, I gotta save an 80-year-old lady, although I think she's 75, 76, off a roof, I don't think your work is gonna fire you. And so I know that a lot of Texans didn't come down to help in the north area, the richer areas. But we had a lot of people from Cajun in the poor areas come help us in Texas. And so Greg Abbott and everybody, like, this would be the time for Texas to stand up and help Louisiana because they're going to need it. And they helped us. Although, shout out to Petra. Petra found me a boat. And shout out to Dizzy. Dizzy said he'd go down with me. Okay, so yeah, dude, this could get really, really, really bad. Once again, you know, every time I post shit, there's always somebody's like, well, maybe it's good if we lose New Orleans. And it's like, dude, if you're willing to give up Puerto Rico, New Orleans, Washington, California, like, what, at what point do you draw the fucking line, man? As your planetary defense committee, like, that's what it's just, wake up, dude. You're Americans. Knock the nihilist shit out of your brains and let's get back to being awesome together. Okay? So this could be a major disaster. And I don't know how people are looking at this saying they don't see the potential that I've been seeing for a week. I mean, the size of this thing. And so, like I said, it's going to pulse probably on the third pulse. Worst case scenario, the next pulse is when it rapidly intensifies. Could be 2 or 3 more pulses away in our 10 pulse series. So this is a soft recommendation to evacuate for the Louisiana area. And this stuff, if it's as big as I think it might be, this stuff will chain reaction. And our infrastructure with broken dams and bridges has already been taking just heavy hits. There's a river in the Mississippi in New Orleans that was already at major flood stage before this has all happened. So I'm not trying to freak anybody out. But I definitely, this is one of those times again where I'm like, hey guys, I think everybody's wrong. And it's better to prepare for the worst, then have it not happen, than to say, oh, it's not going to be that bad, and then if it is really bad, it catches everybody off guard. I tweeted the president, the vice president, the governor of Louisiana. I would recommend moving in the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, the National Guard, because this is we know it's going to do over 2 feet of rain to Louisiana, but I'm saying this worst case scenario, look how big this, like, if it's going to be, this thing could grow to be the size of the Gulf of Mexico. Okay? So I'm trying to say, even the things they've been drawing up like, their wind fields are pretty big, but they haven't modeled it at a Cat 3, a Cat 4, a Cat 5. So, this is my Asteroid Fight Club. They're the extra special of the extra special. They can handle this information. But tell your people and get it down. We are all in this together. And this will, I was saying it before, July is going to be one of the biggest months we've ever seen as far as what direction we're going to go in the future. And so, I'm 15 videos in. I've covered all these points. Let me try and succinct. And I haven't been able to look away. I get all, whatever. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is, if it's a Cat 3, 4, 5, prepare for a hurricane of like that freaking size. I mean, can you see what I'm talking about here? I think you should be able to. Can you see the makings of, hey, if I'm wrong, you're never going to come back? But I don't think I am. I mean, look at these MCSs popping. Like, I know a radar went down in San Antonio. We've got flooding. This is a major storm causing flooding. And DFW down here. So just what this is. Okay, so yeah, this is a soft. I'd evacuate. I was like, I told my mom to evacuate here. I don't think BP, and if you're along this coast, it looked like could be a cataclysm. Could be the one Nostradamus was talking about. Or that a lot of the like super rich people have been waiting on and suckering us with just bullshit political distract, divide and conquer, squirrel, shiny silver objects. Hey man, my cryptos are worth $6,500. Well, does it work underwater? Anyway, we are on this together. It's going to be a weird week. I love you. No matter what, I have faith in God. But free will is real. I would like us all to work together and get to 1,000 years of peace and build a civilization that was built to last. It's possible. Grumpy Cat, sure, had 20 years, but the Grumpy Cat era is over. It's time for good masculinity and good men and women to return. Okay? Sounds great. Man, days like this are weird. God bless everyone. Stay cool. May the force be with you always. And let's live long and prosper together.